This is a 2014 Range Rover Autobiography, bought from Copart, broken and full of unknowns. 4.4 liters of diesel V8 power, but it came with a price and problems. Let's tear it down and bring it back to life. Autobiography cost me just £5,500 at Copart, but of course, it came with mechanical issues. Under the hood, a 4.4 liter V8 diesel worth £4,000 alone. Fully loaded inside, panoramic roof, massage seats, ambient lights, but it needs love and probably a lot of money. Is it a deal or a disaster? You tell me. Subscribe if you want to see the rebuild. Today I'm stripping down the front end of this 2014 Range Rover 4.4 SDV8. It's not just a bumper job, it's a puzzle. First things first, battery off. No sparks, no surprises. Next, we remove the under tray and wheel arch liners. Expect lots of plastic clips. And yes, some will break. There are hidden torque screws under the headlights and behind the grille. Be patient. This isn't a job to rush. Don't forget the wiring. Headlight washers, fog lights, parking sensors, all need to be unplugged before the bumper comes off. Before you disconnect anything, grab a small bucket or rag. These hoses will drain washer fluid the moment you unplug them. Here's a small plastic clip or squeeze connector at the base of the hose. Gently press the sides and pull the hose off the jet or pump. If you want to avoid more leaks, plug the hose temporarily with a plastic cap or even a bolt and some tape. Then comes the heavy part. Literally, this bumper's no joke. Get help or risk damage. With the bumper gone, the headlights come out easy. Just a few bolts and connectors. And there it is. Stripped and ready for deeper work. Radiator, engine, whatever comes next. Hit subscribe if you want to see what's hiding behind this V8 monster. Here are typically 3 Torx bolts securing the headlight. One on top, one on the inner side, and one underneath. Use a T30 Torx bit. Be gentle. These bolts go into plastic mounts and can strip easily. Unplug the main connector by pressing the release tab and pulling straight out. With the bumper and headlights out, it's time to strip the core front structure to reach the engine. Start with the crash bar, held by 4 to 6 bolts into the chassis legs. Use a breaker bar if they're tight. Be careful. It's heavy and may have wiring or sensors clipped to it. Next up is the radiator pack. Disconnect all hoses, coolant lines, transmission cooler lines, and intercooler pipes. Drain the coolant from the lower radiator hose. Unplug radiator fan connector and temp sensor wiring. Disconnect AC lines. Requires degassing by a certified technician. Remove mounting brackets or bolts holding the entire cooling frame. Once all connections are clear, the whole unit can be lifted or pulled forward, giving you full access to the engine. If you want complete access from the front, remove the radiator support frame itself. It's usually bolted to the inner wings and chassis legs. Label all hoses and connectors for reinstallation. If AC lines are involved, discharge the system professionally. Watch out for fluid spills. Have trays and absorbent cloths ready. Disconnect fuel lines, vacuum hoses, turbo pipes, intake and exhaust connections. Remove the prop shaft and front differential if access is blocked. Unbolt engine mounts and gearbox cross members support the engine with a hoist. Double check that all connections are detached. Carefully lift the engine out from the front. Expect tight clearance. Remove as much as possible for space. Use a load leveler for balance during lifting. This is the old engine in a 4.4 SDV8 diesel. It served well, but something went very wrong. The turbocharger failed catastrophically. The compressor wheel shattered. Metal fragments were sucked into the intake, damaging the engine internally. That's what killed it, and now we're tearing it all down to rebuild or replace. Time to install the new 4.4 SDV8 engine, and it starts from the bottom. Using the engine hoist, lower the engine slowly into the bay, guiding it between the chassis rails. Line up the engine mount brackets with the rubber mounts, pern on each chassis leg. These are your main supports. Insert and hand tighten the mounting bolts first. Make sure the engine is seated properly, no twisting or misalignment. Before final tightening, Check clearances around the firewall, transmission and front subframe. Once it's all sitting right, torque the mount bolts to factory spec, and your engine is locked in place. Use a load leveler for easier engine positioning. Don't forget to reconnect ground straps near the mounts. If the mounts are old or soft, consider replacing them now. Access is easiest at this stage. The starter mounts to the side of the transmission bell housing near the flywheel. Usually accessible from under the car, some models may require removing the heat shield. Slide the starter into place, aligning the pinion gear with the flywheel housing. Usually 2 or 3 main bolts, E-torques or hex bolts. Hand tighten the mounting bolts first, then torque them to spec, around 40 to 50 Newton meters, depending on the bolt size. Secure the thick battery cable to the large terminal using a 13mm nut. Ensure it's tight. Connect the small spade or clip-on wire. This sends the start signal from the ignition. Make sure all cables are tight and clear of moving parts or heat sources. Tips and warnings. Always disconnect the battery before installing the starter. Don't over-tighten the signal wire terminal, it's fragile. If engine and gearbox are separated, install the starter after they are mated together. And big thanks to Ivan Garage for supporting me all the way through this build. Couldn't have done it without you. Now it's time to install the gearbox, one of the final and most critical steps in the rebuild. Start by making sure the engine and bell housing surfaces are clean and free of debris. If removed, reinstall the flex plate on the engine and torque it to spec. Check that the torque converter is fully seated into the transmission. You should hear 2 to 3 clicks as it locks into the pump. Using a transmission jack or lift, carefully raise the gearbox under the car and align it with the engine. Make sure the torque converter stays in place. Don't let it slide forward. Hand thread the bell housing bolts first, then torque them in a star pattern to ensure even fitment. Usually 8 to 10 bolts around the housing. Once the bell housing is bolted up, rotate the crankshaft to align the flex plate holes with the torque converter studs. Install and torque the converter nuts through the starter or inspection port. Lower the gearbox slightly onto its mount and bolt the crossmember back to the chassis. Plug in the transmission control connector, reattach breather hoses and reconnect the cooler lines. Once everything is in place, fill the gearbox with fresh fluid following the factory fill and level procedure. Tips: always double check torque converter depth before mating to engine. Don't force the gearbox. If it doesn't slide in, something's misaligned. Use Loctite on torque converter nuts and torque to spec. With the gearbox in, we're one step closer to hearing this V8 come back to life.
Două erau. Parcă-s ele, dar nu știu. Nu cred. Două, dar nu-s patru. Mai duci, mai aduci, mai da. Pista masă. Am transpirat, nu se iubate. Corpul. Da, este un funcționer.
O frântită?
Da, este cu 10 și asta e masa pe corp.
Pe curățat și strâns, este.
Și mai lung loc. Este lung, da, de mes.
Pătiși?
Nu cred și așa de mare.
Now that the transmission is in place, it's time to reconnect the Quattro-style AWD system. Start by bolting the transfer case to the rear of the gearbox. Align the splines, tighten all bolts evenly. Slide the front prop shaft into the front output flange of the transfer case and bolt it to the front differential. Use new bolts if possible and torque to spec, usually around 40 to 50 Newton meters. Mark the shaft orientation if reusing the old one to maintain balance. Next, align the rear prop shaft with the output flange of the transfer case and connect it to the rear diff. Double check that the U-joints are seated properly and nothing binds. Reinstall any underbody braces, shields or exhaust brackets that were removed to access the drivetrain. Spin the prop shafts by hand. Check for smooth rotation and no resistance. Check for any loose bolts, missing clips or misaligned joints. The B+ terminal is the large threaded post on the back of the starter motor. 2. Prepare the cable. Take the thick red cable coming from the battery or starter relay. This is your main power line. Make sure the battery is disconnected before working here. 3. Slide the cable onto the stud. Place the ring terminal of the cable onto the B+ stud. 4. Secure with nut. Tighten the securing nut using a 13mm socket or wrench. Not too tight but firm. You don't want it vibrating loose. 5. Install the protective cap. Cover the terminal with the rubber or plastic protective boot to prevent accidental shorts. Lay out all the exhaust components. Downpipes, DPFs, center pipes and rear boxes. Check all gaskets, clamps and rubber mounts. Start at the turbos. Position the downpipes and loosely bolt them to the turbo outlets. Don't tighten fully yet. You'll need play for alignment. Connect the DPFs or catalytic converters to the downpipes. Slide in the gaskets and align the flanges. Use new exhaust gaskets and ensure sensor wires. NOx, temperature. Next, install the center pipes. Hang them in the rubber exhaust mounts under the chassis and connect to the DPFs using clamps or bolts. Finally, slide the rear mufflers into place. Align the tailpipes with the bumper and tighten the clamps. Once the system is aligned and hanging freely with no tension, tighten all bolts and clamps from front to back. Plug in all exhaust sensors, especially the DPF temp sensors, pressure lines and oxygen sensors. Tips: use anti-seize on all bolts and threads. Replace any cracked rubber hangers or worn gaskets. Don't over-tighten clamps. This can distort the pipes. Leave tailpipes slightly adjustable until final alignment is perfect. Exhaust is on. Now all that's left. Now that the engine is in, it's time to reinstall the radiator and reconnect all vital systems. Attach the upper and lower radiator hoses to the engine. Make sure clamps are tight and correctly positioned. Reconnect the electric fan connector and the coolant temperature sensor. These usually clip in easily with locking tabs. Reconnect the high-pressure fuel lines to the rails and pump, tighten with care, then plug in the quick connect low-pressure feed and return lines. Always double-check for leaks after priming. Plug in the crankshaft sensor, camshaft sensors, MAF, MAP, and intake air temperature sensors. Most have unique connectors. You can't mix them up. Secure any loose wiring with clips or cable ties, keep them away from heat, top up coolant, prime the fuel system, and check for leaks before first crank. And that wraps up part 1 of the Range Rover rebuild. Engine in, systems reconnected, and we're getting close to first ignition. But before we turn that key, I'm taking a quick break. This time we're taking the Audi down south, destination Cornwall. And not just anywhere. I'm heading to one of the UK's most secluded spots, a hidden beach tucked beneath the cliffs only accessible at low tide. No tourists, no noise, just the sea, the rocks, and the road that gets us there. If you're into rebuilds, road trips, and hidden gems, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me for the next adventure. Cornwall, home to some of the UK's most stunning hidden beaches. Tucked between cliffs and only visible at low tide, these secret spots are the kind of places you won't find on postcards. Pure coast. No crowds, just the sound of the sea. If you're into rebuilds, road trips, and hidden gems, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me for the next adventure. Cornwall, home to some of the UK's most stunning hidden beaches. Tucked between cliffs and only visible at low tide, these secret spots are the kind of places you won't find on postcards. Pure coast. No crowds, just the sound of the sea. The best places aren't easy to find, and that's the point. Hidden gems take effort, but once you get there, it's all worth it.